Alrighty, very good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you've had a nice day so far. We continue on with our journey as we approach Western Australia now. So we've left the Northern Territory, and we have a huge journey around. When I was looking at the map, pretending to be a little ship on Google Maps. Oh my gosh! You just have to keep moving it and moving it and moving it. It's so much larger than I ever realised. Anyway, I thought we'd start today with a little teaser as to what we've got to look forward to. Sunset. Anyway, Western Australia. It's a huge place. My goodness, 2.667 million people live there. And those people, if you're wondering what you should call them, apart from their name, of course, they are West Australians or Western Australians. But here's my preferred term for them: sand gropers. That's a colloquial nickname for Western Australians, sand gropers. So just keep an eye out over the next few ports for any sand groping going on. But this is the flag, and you'll see that you've got the Union Jack in the far corner, which is standard on all Australian flags. But then the state emblem changes, and so the state emblem closer to me on the right-hand side of the flag is a black swan. And this has been a symbol of Western Australia since the 1830s, because one of the things that the settlers were surprised by when they started coming here was that the swans are all black. And so they claim to be the only place in the world where all the swans are black. I'm not sure if that is totally true, but it's so iconic here that it is the state emblem. And in 1875, it made it onto the flag. So it's been on the flag ever since then. Originally, the swan looked the other way. And then in 1953, it got bored of the view and turned around. And so since 1953, it's now looked towards the Union Jack. And let's pop up a map again so you can see Western Australia, see what we're looking at. So right now, we're now in the far side of the country where it says WA. As you can see, it is huge. It's a third of Australia's landmass. 1/3 of Australia's landmass is this one state. And it is the second largest subnational entity in the world. The only place larger as a subnational entity is the Sakha Republic in Russia. So of the top two, you're probably only going to visit this one, certainly in the next couple of years. The population of Western Australia, as with most of Australia, centres around the coastline. And in this particular example of Western Australia, the main population is in the south of the state. So the southwest coastline is where much of the population is, though there are scatterings of communities right the way up the coastline. And of course, we're going to be visiting a couple of them in our next ports of call. But Perth is the capital of the state, and that is the largest population, as would make sense, and that's right near at the bottom of the state. So If you enjoy wine, there is a wine region in the state, and that is the Margaret River wine region, where we get to South Australia as well, another nice wine region there. And when we get to New Zealand, ooh, lots of nice wine regions. The first Europeans to settle in the Western Australia were Dutch. They were here in 1616, and they didn't spend a long time here, but they charted it, and so it was known. It was known to Europeans. That was on an expedition voyage led by Dirk Hartog, and Dirk liked what he saw, but not enough to stay. And so it was a while until anybody made a permanent settlement here, and it was a British settlement in December of 1826. So quite a while later, and it was settlers from New South Wales, over on this side near me. They were sent out to find new options for further penal colonies. And so they ventured west, and they found a place which they called the Swan River Colony. Again, straight away, those swans make it into an iconic part of the state's identity. Swan River Colony, that was in 1829. That is the present-day city of Perth. So Swan River turned into Perth. In 1890, Western Australia was given the right to govern itself, so it was no longer governed by New South Wales. And in 1901, it joined with the other British colonies of Australia to form the Commonwealth of Australia. And that grew into the country that is known as Australia today. Let's take a quick look at Broome. This is the port itself. As you can see, we are on a floating jetty quite far out from land, and then there is this long, skinny pier that goes back to land. And on our little symbols on the side here, you'll notice a new symbol. The new symbol is a bus. This is because we need a shuttle bus to leave the port in Broome. So I have put a bus to symbolize that for you. And the shuttle bus will take you all the way from the ship up the pier. It's going to turn right. It's going to go all the way along the land. And it's going to take you to the town centre of Broome. That is a complimentary shuttle bus, and it is not optional. You cannot walk out of the terminal, you cannot cycle out of the terminal, and you can't even rollerblade out of the terminal. So you must get on that shuttle bus. But Broome is one of those places that reminds me that Australia really does have it all. There's everything here. And we've come a pretty good way around Australia now. We're about halfway around. And so we've already seen a fair amount of variety. But Broome is unlike anything else that we're going to visit on this itinerary. We've got fantastic big cities to come in the south of Australia. We've had tropical hotspots and cities in the north. But Broome is almost Middle Eastern. In the same way, it's a bit like the Wild West. The way I like to put it, because Broome is a lot of things. This seafront city in southwest Australia is wildly eastern, middle western, underwater cowboy, free-for-all, nature-loving, dinosaur trampling photographer, tempting beach bum baiting, melting pot of everything. There's a lot to see here. So we're going to get into it. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the map first. There you go. So you can see that we're where the ship is, the little boat in the circle. The town centre is in the rectangle there, the blue rectangle. And just because I know some people are very literal, that is not the route that the bus will take. The bus will follow the road. But it's about a 7.5 kilometre ride, which is about 10 minutes in the bus. So why does Broome exist? Because it's really out of the way. Why did anybody choose to live here? Well, that all started in the 1880s. In the 1880s, people emerged for pearls. And it was named after the governor of West Australia at the time, who was Sir Frederick Napier Broome. Now, you're going to see a lot of things about Sir Frederick Napier Broome around. Of course, the town itself carries his surname, Broome, but the street where the shuttle bus drops us off is Napier Terrace. So you'll remember that for when you want to get back on board. Sir Frederick Napier Broome. Napier is the street for the shuttle bus. Broome is the town. And pearling was huge here. When they first turned up, they stumbled upon a beach called 80 Mile Beach. At the time, it wasn't called 80 Mile Beach. It was just a beach that happened to be 80 miles long. And so the name stuck. But it was full of pearls. Full of pearls and oyster shells and everything just washed up. And you could walk along the beach and pick them up. And you could fill your bags. It was plentiful. And as with everything that was plentiful in the Victorian era, it stopped being plentiful because they picked it all up, and so there wasn't much left. But they still really liked pearls. And so they knew that they were going to have to go out and get them. And so a whole pearling industry emerged in this part of Australia. Pearl luggers came in, and divers came in, and they were all heading out to sea in quite treacherous conditions to try and find pearls. And when I say everybody turned up, I mean everybody turned up. Indonesians, Malay, Chinese, Japanese, Europeans, Aboriginals, everybody wanted a piece of the action. It was dangerous work, though. The average over the whole time was 1 in 5 pearlers would die each season. And at the peak of the mortality rate was 50%. So it was a very, very risky business. But the payoff was huge. And it brought a lot of money into the area. And of course, as with many things, that then led to side industries popping up. So it wasn't just the pearling, but if the pearlers are there and all the divers, then they needed brothels. It's true. Prostitution is legal in Western Australia, and it wasn't always legal, but they decided to make it legal because they decided it would be safer for it to be legalized because it was happening anyway. And so the pearlers came in, generally speaking, single men doing dangerous work, seeing their life flash before their eyes every time they went out. And in the spirit of pretending to procreate, they decided to invest in prostitutes. And the two main side industries in that era were prostitution and gambling. And that was what the town sort of became known for. It's why it's this sort of Wild West sort of feel as well. And there was a particular street in Chinatown, which we'll talk about in a bit, that turned into something of a red light district. And at the time, only that road could be used for prostitution. Don't worry, you can now go anywhere. It's a free-for-all. But at the time, it was just this one road. And there's some quite salacious and exciting stories about this region and that side of its story. The earlier group wanted me to just talk about that for the remainder of the talk. But I know that you're the civilized group, so we shall depart from the hookers now. But that wasn't what brought in the big money. What brought in the big money were the pearls. At one point, Broome provided 80% of the world's pearls. 80% of the world's pearls came from this tiny place that we're going to be visiting tomorrow. And they were making a huge amount of money. But then it all went wrong. In 1952, it went wrong because of polyester. Because they weren't making pearl jewelry. They were making buttons. And suddenly, an alternative button was cheaper and easier to get hold of. And suddenly, big business wasn't coming to Broome for their buttons. And that really pulled the floor out from underneath Broome. And they went into a bit of a lull. And they had to reinvent themselves. And over the subsequent decades, they've reinvented themselves as a bit of a tourism hotspot. And with that, the pearls have re-emerged in the form of very expensive jewellery. So you will see plenty of pearls tomorrow. Many of you already know this, but I always think of two people when I think of pearls. One is my sister, because her middle name is Pearl, named after our great aunt. And the other is Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's. So they're the two people that come to mind, a really classy lady and my sister. But whether it's your wife, your daughter, yourself, if you like pearl jewellery, your day in Broome is going to be very expensive. But you're going to have a great time. Let's look at some top tens. So Chinatown. Chinatown is Broome. Where the tender drops us off, nope. Where the bus drops us off, the shuttle bus, is in Chinatown. Napier Terrace is part of Chinatown. And so you're very close to some great places here. You can see Johnny Chi Lane is in the photograph. Johnny Chi, or John Chi, was a notorious pearler from back in the day. And on this lane, they've put up some interpretative sort of signs and boards with information about his life and the region. So that's nice to walk along and find out a bit more about. Napier Terrace, which is where the shuttle bus will drop us off, that used to be the site where they would clean the pearls. Because you'd have one group of people diving for the pearls, then you'd have the processing team that would clean them up and prepare them ready to be turned into buttons. There's also the old police lockup on that road. But then there's a few streets that are really worth checking out in Chinatown. There's Short Street, which is quite a long road with an art gallery on it. And so if you want, there are two art galleries in Broome, and Short Street Gallery is one of them. If you want to go shopping, Dampier Terrace and Carnarvon Street are your two main streets for shopping. A lot of jewellery shops, other shops as well, but a lot of jewellery shops. And if you like public art, there is a self-guided walking trail called the Chinatown Public Art Trail. So I recommend searching for that on your phone to bring up the trail, and you can take yourself around and see the various public art on display. So something totally different. Gotham Point. Now, this is on the other corner, but by the way, anytime you go anywhere in Broome, you've got to go into town on the shuttle bus to then take further transportation from the centre of town, from Napier Terrace. You can't get any transport from the pier itself. So, this corner over where the box is the site of some dinosaur footprints. Dinosaurs that walked this land hundreds of millions of years ago, ages ago. Well, they discovered these footprints that you won't be able to see tomorrow. You can only see them at extreme low tides. But clever people that they are, they knew that people would want to see them. And so they created replicas at the shore. So you can come back when it's an extreme low tide, and you can actually walk out and stand inside the real dinosaur footprints, or you can take a picture and pretend that you did that tomorrow. You'll also find that there are nice cliffs to walk along. There's a lighthouse there. And if you're going on any private excursion that goes kayaking or something, a lot of them leave from here. So kayak tours leave from here, fishing tours, whale watching tours, a lot will head out from Gantom Point. If you're wondering, Gantom, where's that name coming from? It doesn't sound very Aboriginal. It's not. It's French. It was discovered or charted on a French expedition by a man called Nicolas Baudin, and he named it after a French politician, Joseph Antoine Gantom, and so it continues to bear his name. Cable Beach is one of the most famous places in this region. Cable Beach is the bit that's sort of Middle Eastern, because they do camel rides along the beach. And so if you enjoy feeling sick, then this is a really fun option for you. The nice thing about the camels at Cable Beach is that they're never allowed to sit down. And if you've ridden a camel before, you'll know that one of the worst parts of a camel ride is the up and down part, where they lurch 3 times. And then you know that in order to get off, you've got to do the whole thing again. Well, here they've got a permanent stand where you climb up some stairs and then step over onto the camel. So the camel is already standing up, awaiting you. If you prefer not to go on a camel, then you can rent bicycles in the centre of the town and take the bicycles out there and cycle along the beach, or just walk. It is a 22-kilometre stretch of beach, so you're not going to do it all, but it's a very lovely beach there. It's called Cable Beach because of a Victorian-era cable that used to run to this area, and even though the cable is no longer there, it just always kept that name. By the way, there are lifeguards on that beach, so it's a safe beach to swim. This is an Aboriginal cultural centre, Lianyang Nirawa Cultural Wellbeing Centre. And if you're interested in finding more about the Yaru people, that's the Aboriginal community of this part of northwest Australia, then you'll enjoy your day here. It's a relatively new community centre. It was built really with the purposes of, and you'll see this in the name, the fact it's called a cultural well-being centre. It was built with the purpose of encouraging the Aboriginal community to flourish here. Language revitalisation is a big part of their mission. Bringing people in the community together to be proud of their community, and to showcase it. That was the whole purpose of building this centre, was to bring pride to the community and to show off the culture. And so if you pop over here, you're going to see a lot of public art that has been commissioned especially for the centre. I think they commissioned 20 artists of Aboriginal families in the region. Most of it is in the form of sculptures. And you can walk around the grounds. I'm not sure if they charge an entry fee to go inside, but the grounds themselves are free to visit. And that's on the way to Cable Beach, in a part of town called Cable Beach, one of the neighbourhoods. Yaru, by the way, isn't spelt as it sounds. So if you wanted to jot it down, it is Yawuru. So it's spelt Yawuru. But it said Yaru. Another beach for you, because you know how much I love beaches. This is Riddell Beach. It's one of those beaches which gives you a classic image of Western Australia. That red sand, and if the sun's brightly shining, it'll shine against a turquoise sea. And so you get one of those really iconic, striking images. It's called Riddell Beach because a Captain Riddell, was murdered by his own crew here in 1899. His crew mutinied and they murdered him. And so I have spoken to our captain, because we did consider calling off the visit. I've said I've not heard anybody talking about killing him, and I've said I will keep a very good ear out just in case. And I'll let him know as soon as I hear anything. So, only he had another birthday today, so he's already 1 year older. But you can go here for swimming if you wanted to. And this is an Indian Ocean beach. It'll be a new ocean for us on this itinerary. If you want another beach, then Town Beach is another option. But this isn't just a beach. It's not the best beach if you want to go swimming. I mean, you could, but that's not really the reason I put it in here as a recommendation. This beach is known for being the staircase to the moon. You're not going to see that because we're not there at night. But if you come back, I recommend that you time your visit to Broome to come for the staircase to the moon. And on the website, they actually put the schedule of when the staircase is going to be there, because it only is there in certain conditions. You have a full moon and you have a low tide. Now, the reason for this is full moon, nice and bright. clear skies, low tide, because the tide goes out and it leaves ripples in the sand. Well, those ripples still have puddles of water in. And what it looks like as the moon's rising is that the reflection in each of these strips of puddle form a ladder up to the moon. And everyone who has ever walked on that ladder has drowned. You can also go to the Broome Pioneer Cemetery. That's what the picture is of. When they started dying here in the 1880s, they obviously needed a place to bury them, and they buried them on the beach. And you can still see some of the tombstones. They have moved the cemeteries now because they realized that burying in sand really wasn't a practical idea. But you can still see some of the original 1880s tombstones as you walk along the beach. And then the other thing you can see at low tide, and we will see a low tide tomorrow, we'll see two low tides actually, is the flying boat wrecks. So in World War II there were flying boats, and a few of them are wrecked just off the coast here. And so when the tide goes out, you can actually see them come up above the water. If you want to go inside and see a bit more about the history of the area, then Broome Historical Museum is the place to go. $12 Australian and only open in the morning, 10 a.m. till 1. It's in the old Customs House building, which is from the 1890s. And one of the things that this museum collects is buildings. They like buildings, and then they move buildings onto their site instead of them being demolished. So one of those was the sailmaker's shed, which was built in 1897. They were going to knock it down in favour of a new build, and so the museum rescued the building and moved it to their museum site. And this was an old business building where they used to make sails for the ships. You'll also see divers' outfits in there, and you'll see exactly how dangerous that was based on what they used to go down in. And you'll see other marine and pearling memorabilia. If you enjoy walking, then this is a great one for you. This is the Jetty to Jetty hike. It's not a difficult hike. It's all along roads. It's pretty flat. It's a 3.4 kilometer walk, and it was made by the Yaru people to showcase off places of historical and cultural significance in the area. There are 13 stops in all. And if you were to use this QR code on this slide, it will take you to download the app. In the app, you will be able to hear the old folk talking about the places that you go to along the route. And that's not my words, that's theirs. They say the old folk will be talking to you, and this really is the elders of the Aboriginal community talking and telling their stories. So if you want to do that, remember some earphones or something to be able to listen to your phone. Because there's nothing more antisocial than blaring it out for everybody. But if you don't want to download the app, you can still see the interpretive signing as you walk through the course there. So this is one. It's a fun one. You're not really going to be able to see a huge amount here, but it's nice to just pop by. Sun Pictures is the world's oldest outdoor cinema, and every evening. They do a couple of screenings of. Now they do modern movies. It's a regular cinema in that sense, but it's been going for a very long time. You can visit in the daytime for a tour, and they've got all of their projectors. So right the way back from the 1910s, I think they started. So if you love old technology and cinema in particular, all the movie stuff, they've got all of their old projectors and a bit of information about the story of the place. And that's at 11 a.m. They just do one a day, 11 a.m. and it's $5 Australian for the tour. It started in 1913, and the very first movie that was shown was a silent movie called Kissing Cup, an English silent movie. And then it was converted to colour screen, it was converted to audio, and now, as I mentioned, it shows regular movies. It's a dreadful cinema. Absolutely awful if you wanted to watch a movie, because the cinema is at the end of the runway. Of course, that didn't matter back in time when the movies were silent, but now all you hear is all of the aircrafts. But people still love it because it's just so different and quaint and a sort of a nod to a different era. But it's definitely not the world's best movie viewing experience. But you sit in deck chairs and stuff. And the final tip for Broome is the SSJG, which I find a bit of a tongue twister, the SSJG Heritage Centre. This is the Sisters of St. John of God and Aboriginal people of Kimberley. Kimberley is a region just north of us, and we won't be visiting there, but it's very famous for its rock art, thought to be the oldest human art in the world. They do a little exhibition here in the old convent area. It's called the Relationships Exhibition, which is perfect for Valentine's Day and this time of year. They've got an archive there. They've got a garden of healing and a pomegranate house as well. So if you want to visit there, I'm not sure if they charge to go in. So do let me know if you go tomorrow and you do find out if they charge. Let me know. I'm hoping it's free, but you never know. Here is a map for you of the highlights of Broome. And you can see I put number 8 on twice because there's a line, a blue line that runs between them, and that's the route of the jetty to jetty walk from Streeter's Jetty to the jetty at Town Beach. This will also be going on your television this afternoon if you want to rewatch it. So let's talk about Exmouth. Exmouth. Now, you might be thinking, why am I not calling it Exmouth? Because that's surely how it is pronounced. Unlike everywhere else in Australia where the vowel sounds are shortened, Exmouth decided not to shorten their vowel sounds. So unlike Brisbane, which is Brisbane, or Melbourne, which is Melbourne, Exmouth is Exmouth. So that's how the locals will refer to it. Very important with Exmouth. I learned this the hard way last year. If you're looking things up online about Exmouth, you'll find a lot of information, huge amount of information about this place. It's got a lot of stuff there, huge amount of stuff there. But that's Exmouth in England. I wrote a whole presentation last year thinking that Exmouth was fantastic. And then we visited. And it was fantastic. But it didn't have the Royal Mail. And that was what threw me. So do make sure if you ever put anything on your phone for Exmouth, put WA at the end, Western Australia. And that way you'll hopefully get information which is relevant to our stay there. Why are we going to Exmouth? This very, very, very small place in the middle of nowhere, really. This part of Australia is very, very deserted. Why are we going there? Well, Exmouth was Australia's top small tourism town of the year in 2022. That was after 2 years of no tourists turning up. And they won the prize. I've noticed a trend this cruise. Everywhere where I say, it's a very small place and there's nothing there, turns out being your favourite place. So I am convinced that you are going to have the time of your lives in Exmouth, because it is a very small place with not a huge amount there. But the things that are there are worth going for, and so that is the reason why we stop here. As you can see, it is a tender port. That's what the anchor symbolises. There's another shuttle bus, and there are toilets just nearby where the tender drops us off in the resort that's just there. This is a relatively new marina, and actually, if anybody's looking for a business opportunity, this area is for sale. It's lot 10, and they're interested to see what you'd like to do with it. So have a think, and I'll give you the contact details tomorrow. Here it is on a map. So you can see the ship is there out at sea. Then the short dotted line is the tender journey. That's to the circle. The circle is where the tenders will drop us off, and then there is a shuttle bus another complimentary shuttle bus that will take us a 3-kilometre, 5-minute drive into Exmouth itself. It's very, very small, and there's no road which is exclusively residential or exclusively commercial. People live in the town, and there are shops, and there are people, and it feels very, very local. There are a couple of major sites, though, to visit here, and let's start with the obvious one, Ningaloo Reef. So Ningaloo Reef is the reason that we come here. It's not the reason that Exmouth exists. We're going to get to that in a moment. But the reason why we come here is because of Ningaloo Reef. Ningaloo Reef is the largest fringing reef in the world. It's the second largest reef in Australia after the Great Barrier Reef, which we have already been to. So we're doing both of Australia's big two reefs in this itinerary. Ningaloo Reef is a UNESCO World Heritage listed site. There's loads and loads of outdoor activities to enjoy. You can go kayaking, you can go snorkeling, you can go boating, you can go fishing. There's a load of things to enjoy here. And it stretches 300 kilometers, so it really is very, very large. We are at the northernmost point of the reef in Exmouth. There are 850 species. There are extensive mangrove systems. It's massive. This is the largest humpback whale nursery on the west coast of Australia. So this is where they birth their young and then bring them up in this area before they go much further. They've also got, I think it is the only place in Australia with a permanent community, colony, I'm not sure quite the right word, of whale sharks. Whale sharks are the largest fish in the world, and there is a group of whale sharks that permanently live in this area and don't migrate anywhere else. It's so good here that it's been dubbed an aquarium without glass, and so that's its nickname. If you want to find out more, the Ningaloo Centre is where the shuttle bus drops us off. There are 2 stops on the shuttle bus. One's at the Ningaloo Centre, one's in the centre of town. And you can just stay on the bus to go to the second one. It's the same bus. Ningaloo Centre has a discovery centre in it for information about the science and the region, and then an aquarium as well to see more of the animal life. So it's a fantastic place to start off our visit in Exmouth. There's also an interesting exhibition there about cyclones. There was a severe tropical cyclone called Vance, which was the most powerful cyclone ever to make land in Australia, and they've got an exhibition all about that. They've got a reef to range gallery to talk about the national park and the reef. It's a great visitor centre. It's also the place where you'll be able to pick up maps and leaflets and all that other stuff. But I mentioned that the reef is not the reason Exmouth exists as a town. The reef is nice, but there's no reason to build a town. The reason they built a town, and it's relatively modern, is because of the military. This was the Second World War era, and the American and Australian militaries joined forces to build a VLF, which is a very low-frequency communications station. And it's the Harold E. Holt Communications Station. It is still operating. It's no longer run by the military. It's now run by civilians, so you won't see any great uniforms, but you can visit. You can't go into all of the site, but you can walk around and see it. This is an aerial view of the site, and in the very center is the tallest, the second tallest structure in the Southern Hemisphere, and the tallest VLF structure in the world. So it's quite a tall pylon. If you enjoy looking at pylons, then this is really exciting stuff. If you don't enjoy looking at pylons, then probably give this one a miss. There's a sign as well. The sign says Harold E. Holt Communications Station, so well worth getting your photo in front of that. Something of a local landmark. But the military left. In the same way that the Pearl divers left Broome, the military left here. And again, they left a bit of a vacuum. And so what did they fill that with? Us. They filled it with tourism. And in the case of Exmouth, ecotourism. So they're really selling themselves on the access to most gorgeous nature. But if you wanted to go shopping, there is a very local shopping centre in Exmouth. This isn't major shopping, not like we saw in Darwin, which had really great shopping options, not like we're going to see in Fremantle and in Perth, which have fantastic shopping options. Very, very local. If you need some deodorant, you'll be able to get it. If you want to go big shopping, this isn't the port for that. But you're going to get a local experience, and this is the town centre where the locals do their shopping. This is amazing. The Cape Range National Park. So this is the only national park in Australia, maybe the world, but I couldn't verify this. But this is the only national park in Australia for sure where the national park meets a coral reef. And so they call this, that's why they talk about the range to reef, because the park just leads straight into the sea. And that's where the reef picks it up and continues the journey. And you can see just from the photo how impressive it is. You see just the gorges and canyons slash through, and some beautiful trails to enjoy out here. You're going to see all sorts of wildlife out here as well. So if you want to see lots of Australian wildlife and animals, you're going to see emus, wallaroos, kangaroos, dingoes, loopy-loos, all sorts. Loopy-loos are not a real animal. I say that so that you don't ask your ranger to, could you point out a loopy-loo, please? Because you'd look a bit silly. So the others are real. They're spotted every day, these animals, apart from the loopy-loos. And it's a fantastic place to see them and do a bit of wildlife spotting. So if that's something you really enjoy, then you're going to have a fantastic day in Exmouth. And it's very easy to get there. It's about an hour's drive. Again, the drive does not follow the dotted line, actually. The drive goes north first, around the end of the peninsula, and then down on the other side. But then there are some great hiking trails. Now, if this is for you, I've got an app that I think you should download. I highly recommend downloading this app. In fact, I've got a little video to explain it more.
Love our national parks? Get the free WA Parks Foundation Smart Tracker maps to make it easier to explore the trails. They work without any phone signal, so no network, no worries. Smart Tracker lets you see your exact location in real time on a park map using your smart device's built-in GPS. As you move around, the map moves with you, so you know whether you're going left or right. You can measure distances and set up navigation to where you want to go. Follow the route, drop pins at places of interest, add photos and notes, and always know where you are in the park. You can also track your entire hike and save it for the next visit, and see all the stats at the end. Awesome, but remember, you'll need to download your map before you arrive because there's no network coverage at most national parks. Get your Smart Tracker WA Parks Foundation maps via the free Avenza app. Click here to find out more.
This is a really, really good app, and it will help you be safe out in the park as well. So I do recommend getting that one if you are planning to go out into the parks. I've put the links to both the Apple and the Android versions of the app, and you'll see this in your rooms on your TVs later if you would like to get it. There is free Wi-Fi in the Ningaloo Centre, so if you don't have Wi-Fi on board but still want to get this app before you head on out, then you'll be able to pick it up there before you then go out to the park. All right, Town Beach is also in Exmouth. It is a different town beach, but it's the most local one to where the ship drops us off. And this is really nothing more than a beach. So it's the sort of beach that you go swimming on, and there's no real facilities there, but a nice local beach if you just want to have a splash in the water. If you want an alternative beach, then Bundigi Beach is a slightly more interesting beach to visit. and you can go kayaking from here. So if you enjoy going out on the water, then head out to Bandigi. If you're good with kayaking, this is a little bit strenuous, but if you're a strong kayaker, you can kayak about 3.5 kilometers, and you get to an amazing reef where you'll be able to see all sorts. So you kayak out, you snorkel a bit, or you swim around, and then you get back in your kayak and you kayak back. If you're as strong a kayaker as I am, then that will kill you. I've got one more beach option for you, and that is nearby the Broome Head Lighthouse. So the interesting thing about the Broome Head Lighthouse is that this is one of the only lighthouses in Australia to see both the sunset and the sunrise across the water, just because of its position. And so it's a very popular one to go and visit. You get some lovely photos from the elevated position of the lighthouse. But you've got to be careful which way you look, because if you look the wrong way at the Broome Head Lighthouse, you'll see the nudist beach. Yeah, oh, yes, indeed. So maybe it's for you. If you're sitting uncomfortably in borrowed clothing, and you've been waiting all cruise to just let it out, then tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Exmouth is your day. You're going to have a great time. And that's just past the lighthouse if you wanted to whip your clothes off. Back in town with your clothes firmly on, there is the Exmouth Cultural Arts Centre. This is a local arts centre, which thankfully is open on Wednesdays, and we're in on a Wednesday, which is lucky because otherwise there would only have been 9 highlights in the top 10. And you'll see local art and meet some of the locals in there as well. My final top tip for Exmouth, and this comes with a photo challenge, which I know some people have been waiting for our next photo challenge. I would like to introduce you to the big prawn. The big prawn is something which is very Australian. Australia loves big things. And the big prawn claims to be the biggest prawn, you might call it a shrimp, the biggest prawn in the world. It's not. Because there's another town in Australia that's got a bigger prawn. And they have a war going on called the Prawn Wars as to who has the biggest prawn. I was so inspired by this story that I have decided to write for you another special presentation. I'm going to deliver it after we go to Fremantle, because I've found a space for it, called Only in Australia. And it's going to be filled with baffling stories of this place and its uniqueness. So I'm looking forward to that one, because I've already found some absolute corkers, which really you would only find in Australia. But the big prawns are going to make a reappearance in that one. Anyway, this prawn is 4 meters tall, and it is right next to the Ningaloo Centre. So if you get off the shuttle bus there, you can have a kiss with the prawn first, and then you can head on. Here's the photo challenge before we put the map on. It's a very free and easy photo challenge, this one. I would like you to create for us the most amusing, creative, however you want to interpret it, photo of you with the big prawn. You can do whatever you like with the big prawn, so long as it's legal, and you capture it on camera. I will put the top 3 on the screen at the beginning of the next talk. So whatever you enter for the competition, please be aware that a lot of people are going to see you doing it. But we're looking forward to seeing what you come up with. But our photo challenge is to do something amusing with the big prawn, and you can't miss the big prawn because it's very big, and it is also right by the Ningaloo Centre. Here is your map of Exmouth. You can see the stuff in town, and then the arrows point out in the direction of the other highlights, which are slightly further away. Tonight we're going to have our Q&A about Broome, which is of course tomorrow's port of call, and then in a couple of days' time we'll do our Q&A about Exmouth in the evening before, so we can remind you of some of this information, and we'll also go through the logistics. Have a think what your questions might be ahead of that. Thank you very much indeed for coming. Hope you had a nice afternoon with me, and I will see you later. This will go on the TV in a little bit.